everybody. In today's video I'm reflecting on my experience of moving to Sedona 6 years ago in February 2019, and I'm thinking about what I would do differently if I were moving to Sedona today in 2025. So this is just a reflection of my own experience, what I kind of learned from moving here. Things are different 6 years later, some of the things are the same, but I'm just going to share with you some of the things that I learned and what I would do if I were moving here today. The channel is Living in Northern Arizona, where I talk about everything there is to know about living in the northern half of the state of Arizona. My name is Dawn Dickinson, and I am a licensed real estate agent in the state of Arizona. So if you ever have a question about buying or selling a home, please give me a call or a text or an email. I will get back to you, and my contact information is always listed in the description below. So let me give you a little bit of background. I moved to Sedona full-time in February 2019. I had been looking since 2018, planning to move, but I had lived in the Phoenix area for most of my life. My family moved from New York in 1970, so I had lived mostly in the East Valley, Chandler, Gilbert, Phoenix. I did live in Flagstaff for a few years to go to Northern Arizona University, and kind of moved back to Flagstaff in 2018 to practice real estate in Northern Arizona, and I decided that I wanted to be permanently in Sedona rather than Flagstaff, mostly because Flagstaff was very cold in the wintertime. And it's kind of funny because it's March and it is snowing outside. It's been snowing in Flagstaff, but it did just start snowing here in Sedona. So again, I like Sedona as my permanent place to live, and that's a little bit of a history. So there's a few things that I wish I had done differently. First of all, I had decided to move in 2018, and I kind of went back and forth. Should I buy something? Should I rent? And I ended up renting for a year, which wasn't a bad idea. But there are a couple things about renting. First of all, it's very difficult to find a rental in Sedona, so it did take me a while. I found a nice duplex, one side of a duplex on the other side of the 179, kind of by the golf course, and I stayed there a year. It actually was very nice. I enjoyed living there. I actually considered buying that duplex, but ended up buying a single family home at the end of 2019. But I had moved here in February 2019, and if I had bought right away rather than renting, I probably would have found a home for maybe $50,000 less. So, and I did end up liking it here and staying here, but it may have financially better a choice to buy right away rather than rent. But of course, the perks of renting was I would get established, decide, do I really want to stay here, and that kind of deal. So I'm not saying I regret that, but looking back, financially it probably would have been better because prices had been going up during the year, and I ended up paying a little bit more than I may have if I had bought right away. But again, you don't know that for sure, but just the hindsight, I might have just bought right away rather than rent. And that's something you might want to consider. Also, if you're unsure though, if you're going to like the area, definitely renting is something to consider. So the second thing something I was so guilty of, and it's often my clients have the same issue, where you have the mindset, you come here. I had lived in Phoenix for years. I had practiced real estate in Phoenix for a couple of years before moving here. And so I had the mindset that the market in Sedona was going to be similar to Phoenix. And I kind of behaved in a way expecting that my transaction, my purchase was going to be similar to Phoenix, and it was not. So that's why it's important for you to engage with a local realtor who lives in Sedona, who does a lot of business in Sedona, because they can advise you more about what's likely to happen, kind of educate you, and maybe you wouldn't make the mistake that I did. So I came in Phoenix again. I was starting to make offers on houses 2018, 2019, ended up buying a home late 2019, but I had made offers on 5 different homes before I got into the one that I ultimately purchased and am living in now. And part of the problem was that Phoenix, the market was kind of soft, and so we were used to maybe giving a starting offer of maybe 5% below asking price. And it does seem like here in Sedona, the prices often go closer to the asking price than that was happening in Phoenix. And I do see a lot of times people coming from Phoenix or coming from other states like Florida, where the market is very soft, that they want their initial offers to be low. We often, can't agree on a price, and then they move on to the next one. And sometimes it takes 2 or 3 offers for them to be like, oh yeah, I'm not lying to you. But I understand why you think this way, because I was guilty of it myself. So sometimes it's just better to trust what your real estate agent is telling you if they are from that area and if they do business in that area, because they're probably likely to know, hey, that offer's too low. I don't think it'll be accepted, but I'll write it for you. That's typically how I do it. And maybe you would say, oh, okay, should we do it a little higher, or whatever the circumstances is. Now, there's always other circumstances. If the house is priced too high, then yes, offer a little bit lower if it's been on the market a long time. But again, you're going to trust your agent to run comps and give their professional advice on how you should make your initial offer when you're ready to write an offer on the home. Now, here's another thing that I did, and I again see a lot of clients doing this. You come here and you get sticker shock because prices are higher than where you're coming from often. And so I had come here with a certain amount that I wanted to spend. Now, there's another caveat with me. Because I had just moved here and had not been practicing real estate in this market, I had to buy my house with a relative because I did not have 2 years of tax returns saying that I could pay the mortgage on my own in this market. So maybe you would want to buy the home with a partner. That was something I ended up doing. I co-bought it with somebody else who I'm related to because this way I was able to get, more of a home than I would. Actually, probably at that point could not buy much of a house by myself. But you have this mindset of, okay, I only want to pay this price. Like, you can pay a higher price. Like, maybe you can. I ended up paying about 35% more for the home that I'm in than what I initially had in my mind that I'm going to buy. I don't want to spend more than blah, blah, blah amount. And I would look at these homes, and that's where everybody was making offers. So that may have been another reason that I lost out on 5 offers, because I'm looking at a lower price point where everybody wants to be. So I ended up buying what I could afford, but I initially said, I'm not paying that much. So you may need to just open your mind that I might have to pay a little bit more than I was hoping in order to get what I want. Now, I still could have bought at the lower price point, but I may have ended up with a townhouse or a 2-bed, 2-bath rather than a 3-bed, 2-bath. So again, just to be a little bit flexible, if you are able to pay a little bit more, still wouldn't hurt to look at those houses that are at a teeny bit higher price point if you are able to do it, rather than say, no, I'm not paying that much, which is what I did. So a little bit of a learning mistake, but that's just how it goes sometimes. So another idea that I had is maybe instead of buying an existing house, I should buy a vacant lot and have a home built, which isn't a bad idea, but you really have to be very construction savvy. You have to have very good financing options, because it's a little more complicated than it might seem, especially here in northern Arizona. If you're coming from Phoenix, there are so many contractors, but again, we are a small town. There's not a lot of options. So when I moved here, I first moved into the rental, and I was looking at lots, and there were some very nice, about 1/4 acre vacant lots, very close up to the base of some of the red rocks for about $120,000. And I'm like, wow, I could buy a lot, have one built, and be exactly what I want, and probably get it better than it would be if I bought it already completed. But actually, that's not true anymore. It used to be true, and probably if my father was still alive, I might have been able to pull off a project, because my father would do that. He would buy a house. Actually, he would act like general contractor. Now, I don't recommend any of you do that. I recommend you would hire a general contractor. And maybe if you were construction savvy and could do this, that you could hire out all the contractors and know how to get the permits and get it approved by the city. My dad did that. So if my dad was alive, perhaps I could have pulled that off. But the reality is, to hire a general contractor here in Sedona, most of them are quoting about $400 to $600 a square foot to build. So keep that in mind. That's on top of the purchase price of your lot. If there's any excavating going on, which a lot of times there are, you might buy a lot and it's a solid block of rock, so you might need, or it might be on a slope, so you might have to do some excavating. That will put more on the price. You could get lower than that, but I don't think you'd really get lower than like $375 a square foot. So keep that in mind. Also, I'm seeing some of these projects take a year, maybe 2 years to build by general contractors. So the time may take a little bit longer. And then of course, the big thing is financing. Like if you don't have cash, you got to get a construction loan. There are not a lot of companies that do construction loans, but again, getting the financing to build it yourself is very difficult. So you got the time. Cost is going to be way more than you're expecting. Just figure that. It's going to cost way more than you think. And then the financing, that I should never have even wasted a minute of time thinking I'm going to do that. And a lot of people do, and then they end up buying, or they do build, and it just can be frustrating. So I wouldn't do that myself, and I don't want to say don't ever do it. Just realize if you're construction savvy, maybe you have a little bit of experience doing this, you've had homes custom built before, maybe go for it. But if you're just coming like me and have never done it yourself, maybe forget the idea of buying a lot and building something on it. So another thing I would also do today, although I am glad I bought a single family house with a yard, because I got a really nice yard with a nice view. It's great, but I still might today consider a townhome, because with the townhome, the big thing I think that hurt me with the townhome is like the HOA fees. Like your HOA fee could be $200-300 a month. But as it turns out, I pay a landscaper $200 a month to do my lawn. So that's really not that far off if you got a townhouse with a low monthly fee. Another thing is some of the townhomes around here have these nice amenities like a pool. Like it would be really great to have a pool. I'm certainly not ever going to buy a house again with a pool, a private pool, because it's a pain to maintain. And but I do love having a community pool. In fact, some of my friends live in the townhouse areas and we use her community pool, and it's really nice. So I wouldn't like rule out a townhouse because there are some that are bigger than my house, nicer, have better views, but the yard is smaller and you are connected. But I had just kind of ruled that out completely. I wouldn't rule it out today, but I do enjoy living in a single family house. So another thing that I did is I had looked in areas that were kind of far out of town, like say Pine Valley, which is like kind of further out here in the village of Oak Creek, or maybe I had really thought it would be great to have a home in Oak Creek Canyon. Now that is way too desolate. And then possibly the Red Rock Loop. Now, I'm not saying you guys shouldn't consider these that are a little bit out of town, but if you're here a lot by yourself, I would say stay closer to town, because if your family's gonna always be with you, or if you have a spouse that you're always gonna have someone with you, be a little far out, it's not so bad. But if you are living by yourself, you know, half the time, I'd say you're better off to be closer to town, because, you know, then you could just walk over to do some shopping, or, you know, just get in the car and drive for 3 minutes to do some shopping, or hit the coffee shop, or go to the restaurant. And you may become a little too isolated if you're living by yourself, if you're a little bit further out of town. So I would rule those out right away. Again, that is going to depend on your situation. But for me, I'm glad I stayed very close to town here in the village. So I would do that. Now, one last thing that I did, and this is probably not going to pertain to any of you, but it did pertain to me. I was looking for a place that I thought my mom would come stay with me, you know, oh, come stay for a week or something. And why did I think that? Like, my mother never expressed interest. Like, as soon as my father died, she wanted to get rid of the Flagstaff place. So my mom was never an outdoor person. I don't know why I thought she would come stay with me. In fact, at one point she said, I didn't want to go to Sedona. So again, I was looking for a house that would accommodate me and let my mother stay up for a week, a month, and she never did. She actually never came once, and now she's in hospice, so she definitely won't be coming. But I, you know, sometimes you get these ideas, these fantasies in your head that, you know, another person's going to come live with you, and so maybe just be a little more realistic. Now, I am glad I still have the bigger place, because my kids could come stay and friends could come stay, and I do get visitors, but I did have it set that, oh, I can't get that place because that wouldn't be good for my mom. And I did rule out some properties like that, like some that had some stairs and that maybe was a little bit silly and unrealistic, because mom never did come, not once has she come to see me in Sedona. So I shouldn't have wasted any energy thinking of that. Probably not going to pertain to any of you, but just keep in mind that maybe think mostly of what your own needs and the people that are going to be living in the home most of the time are going to need, and maybe not try to accommodate people that may or may not come to visit. So anyhow, that's it. That's my list of like the 7-8 things that I would do different if I were moving to Sedona today. I do not regret moving to Sedona. I do love it here. It is a bit of a small town though, so that was something that took a little bit getting used to. Also, sometimes because we're a small town, it seems like it's a little bit back in time. Like, I make jokes that, yeah, it's 1997 here. But I don't regret it. It's a beautiful place to live. I have a great view from my home. Lots of people here are healthy and fit. I have made a lot of friends since I moved here, so I have people that I go out and do things, and also there's a lot of places to go hiking. And if you're into nature, you will definitely love it here. So my name is Dawn Dickinson. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, please do me a favor and hit the like button. Consider subscribing, because I do videos like this every single week for people who are thinking of moving or living in northern Arizona. And it really does help the channel. It helps other people find the video. And of course, if you're ever interested in buying or selling a home in Arizona, please give me a call or a text or an email. I do love working with my YouTube viewers, and I will get back to you. That's all for today. I hope you have a great week, and I hope to see you back here on my channel again next week.